So I'll start with how to love God. Sunil, you want to read or I'll read it myself?
I could, yeah. You mute
Yeah, I'm already sharing. Yeah.
speaker and uh, Karthik, am I audible? Was that maybe?
Yeah, you
Sorry.
are. You are. Sorry, you are audible. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai.
How to love God? To love God in the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. If instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. If instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. If we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think of ourselves more fortunate than many, many others, we are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God. If we understand and feel that the greatest act of devotion and worship to God is not to hurt or harm any of His beings, we are loving God. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of all life is to love God and find Him as our own self. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. So we were at the circle yesterday. I thought I'll start with a little quiz. Given the small turnout, it may still work. So, do you guys remember what yoga samskaras are from our read yesterday? Anybody?
These are set of samskaras that the perfect masters enjoy after having lost all their original sanskaras to be in this creation to do their particular function. So these are non-binding samskaras.
Brilliant. You covered all the
Is
points.
it only for God man or it's for all perfect masters?
It's only for
All
man God.
man God,
Man
all
God.
perfect masters.
It's
All
for
perfect.
man God and all perfect masters. Correct. Next question. Definition was perfect. Now, why do you need yoga samskaras?
Why do you need? So
Yeah.
they are destined to be in the creation, and they are also endowed with some functional capabilities to be alive in this creation after you have realized God. It is difficult because you are in that particular blissful mode. So to be able to function as human beings, you need certain sanskaras. So that is the need for yoga samskara thing.
Correct. Very, very, very true. So I think to just put it even more bluntly, yours was more broader. To operate in the realm of creation, you're
Yes,
going to be subject to the laws of creation. But those
yes,
laws of creation may be, handled differently for the purpose of the work that you're doing, the universal work that you're doing. And to handle that also, you need the framework of samskara. This goes back to what samskaras are. Without samskaras, there's nothing. So for the perfect master, there's a different set of samskaras which handle the laws, the four hierarchy of laws differently for creation during their stay in as a perfect master. Brilliant. Any other comments? Any other thoughts? For me, this was a nice experience because I was always struggling with yoga sanskaras. And I know, Mama, you're looking for Vigyani. We'll get there now. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hi, Ashok.
Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Yeah.
So what's happening here is that Yoga Sanskara is not just for perfect masters; it's all self-realized beings.
Yes.
The
Okay.
56 God-realized souls who are operating in the spiritual hierarchy, they will all be operating in Yoga Sanskara.
Oh, not
And
just the man God.
Yes, yes.
correct.
Accepted.
Sorry. Apologies. Correct.
And second is the Yoga Sanskaras don't create any impressions. Prarabdha karma is basically responding or reacting. It is technically spending and unwinding sanskaras, which happens in the human birth, whereas Yoga Sanskaras is after God realization. So the Yoga Sanskaras don't make any kind of impression or imprint. They are basically purely functional for operating the phenomenal world so as to carry on their functions or duties. Okay, Baba.
Yeah. The second part he covered already. He said they are non-binding. So his answer had all the keywords. He gets full marks. But your point on all God realized souls versus man God is well taken. Sunil to note as well.
Yeah, Jai Baba, thanks for that. I have a
Yeah.
primary school question in the MBA class. Uh,
Go ahead.
the difference between God man and man God.
Huh.
Anybody, please?
Man becoming God. God coming down as man. That is the difference.
So, Baba is God man or man God?
Man God.
God.
Baba is
God man.
God man.
Baba is
God
God man.
Baba is God man. And examples of man God?
Man God. All perfect
All the
masters.
perfect masters.
All
Sai
the perfect
Baba.
masters. Okay, yeah, clear. Thank you. That's what I was confused about. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Ashok, were you attempting to say something?
Yeah,
Yeah, sometime back.
no problem. I was waiting for everybody. So I have a very, you can say sort of a class one sort of an analogy in this MBA class. So it's like this that I was going through the discourses in the morning, and something which caught my fancy was that the body, which even the universal mind, that is the man God, you know, acquires, is like a wig on a bald head. And once his task is done, once his universal work is done, he just gets rid of the body like the wig, and then that's the that's why he dropped his body. So it was there in Maya, I think part one or part two, but I was just listening to it in the morning, and that caught my fancy. That we all get enchanted with our body, but ultimately it's just a wig to be just got rid of in the God realization process. This is an
Some
analogy.
people like, yeah, good point, Ashok. Go ahead.
Jai, Jai
Finish.
Baba. Yeah, Jai Baba.
I'm only tempted to say some people don't even look for a wig. We are very spiritually advanced. Me and Sunil are examples. So we don't look for a wig. We know it, man. We're ready.
Agreed. But when we read it again, it gets reiterated, and we again, sort of.
You didn't get the joke. I
Maybe
said, me and Sunil don't need a wig. We are spiritually advanced.
okay. I got a
Jai
little late.
Baba. Fully agree.
Anyways, Karthik, thanks for enlightening us and bringing us to the group. Thank you.
No. It's been as much as fun for me as I hope it is for you. More than fun, I hope you're learning something. Okay,
No, it is.
let's
It's learning with fun.
yes. So let's continue. we continue from where we left off. So we actually completed Yoga Sanskaras, and this was what was the reason for why Yoga Samskaras are required. Work of man God subject to the laws of creation. And, yeah, we'll continue from there. Master's work determined by Yoga Sanskaras. Even when the work of the man God is measured by the magnitude of its results, results achieved by the worldly minded are mostly trivial in comparison. The greatest of souls who are still in spiritual bondage cannot approach the achievements of the man God. The master has behind his work the infinite power of God, while the worldly person is working with the limited power available to him through his ego mind. A man God may sometimes end his incarnation after achieving some limited task. This is not because he is limited in his power, but because the work, which is determined by his Yoga Sanskaras, is so much and no more. He is in no way attached to work as such. Having finished the work given to him by his Yoga Sanskaras, he is ready to be reabsorbed in the impersonal aspect of the infinite. He does not tarry in the world of unreality and duality a minute longer than is necessitated by his Yoga Sanskaras.
Karthik, I have a question.
Sure.
So there is this mention about that the human being has got limited power. One of the lines above, I think, has got limited power available to him,
Correct.
while the worldly person is working with the limited power available to him through his ego mind. The question is that how do we get, you know, some pointers, some, something which we can put on our desk to increase our power. You can summarize it maybe now or later, but some, like we have the seven realities there. How do we increase our power so that we are advanced in our path of God realization? Jai Baba.
Yeah, so I think it's a long answer, right? Kama, you want to take that?
To make it short, you start crawling towards the plane 1 and then ascend.
Yeah, yeah.
You will get lot of power.
Even from plane 1, you will get more power than what the
Yes,
limited
yes.
power that you enjoy here, correct?
Correct, correct.
Jai Baba, if I understood the question, you are asking how to move towards more power. In terms of when you're talking about more power, you're talking about how to get self-realization, how to use this power to reach self-realization. I believe that I don't think you should look at it as power. What is important is, are you able to obey and surrender to Baba's postulates, which is about relationships in the phenomenal world during the waking state. I mean, let's talk about, there is MBA program which we do in theory in the Ivy League schools, and then you have to actually go out and implement when you start working in the real world. Similarly, what we are doing out here is we are reading all this so that we can assimilate and absorb it in our day-to-day activities. So what you need to look at is the basic purpose is Manonash, which is the ego aspect. And every day we are dealing with our ego. The mind ego can be your best friend or your worst enemy. How you utilize the mind ego to perform your day-to-day activities, because there is no difference between spirituality and material life. What we are doing is we are trying to lead a material life in a spiritual sense. And how do you do that? Who's going to guide us? And Baba has given us all these postulates, how to love God, the seven realities. So what the way I can look at it is about how to improve your own self-awareness so that you can do more of unwinding sanskaras, which is intelligent action, and less of spending sanskaras, which is unintelligent action. Because we are not perfect, we are in the process, it's a work in progress. So the bottom line would be not about power, it is more about self awareness rather than control. Looking at life's problems, not looking at life as challenges, not as problems. So I think it is that attitude one has to change because we have been conditioned to think, speak, and act, the action of thoughts, words, and deeds in a certain way. So if you are able to give as much self awareness to your day to day activity, that itself will be the journey, the spiritual journey, and it will happen by itself. You have to keep practicing what we have read. As Baba said, obey me. What does he mean? He's basically saying, obey the messages that I have given it to you. Jai Baba.
But I have just one follow-up question, if I may. So, amongst the tools and techniques, it could be either yoga or meditation, whichever works for a person, right? Jay Baba.
Again, Jai Baba, again, you have to understand what is yoga, what is meditation. So there are different angles to defining yogas. We know head, heart, hands, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, karma yoga. Whenever you're doing any of these three yogas or even Raja Yoga, there should not be any expectations because that is going to create sanskaras. You have to do it with full awareness. So the yoga part is everything you do moment to moment is yoga if you're able to do it with awareness, self awareness, which you can extrapolate to intelligent action. Whereas when you're talking about meditation, same thing, that every task you do, you're doing with 100% concentration, focus. The yoga and meditation, which the conventional public talks about, the hatha yoga, kriya yoga, vipassana practices, these are just tools and techniques like going to the gym. Why do we go to the gym? Because when you exercise, your efficiency goes from 50% to 70 to 80%. The only reason we do all these things, it makes us much more efficient. That is how I look at it from a practical point of view. If I don't exercise, I can feel the difference. When I exercise, I can see my energy levels are better. So it is more of a tool or technique. But for people who are God realized, they don't need all this because they are not using their body. So the body is just being used to function for spiritual reasons, whereas we need to use this body. And so that is why these techniques are helpful. So yoga and meditation also has to be defined, and you have to uh, how should I say this? You have to look at the context of where you are using the word yoga and meditation. Jai Baba.
Okay.
Ashok
Let's
seemed to have something in mind like being more productive or say the life ahead with us. How can we be more sharper and more effective? That was probably his idea of how to increase power. So if that is the case, all these explanations also will make you sharper in this duality of the world. But if it is focused really towards spiritual growth, that is a different aspect. I feel he had that doubt in his mind. Jai Baba.
No, Mamaji, you're right. The first part is what I was asking about, to increase our power, and it's got fairly answered. Of course, we are working on it. Thank you. Thank you all. Jai Baba.
Okay. So the next subtitle is Beyond State. In the beyond state, time, space, and the whole world of phenomena are non-existent. Only in the phenomenal world of duality is there space, time, or operation of the law of cause and effect. When the perfect master works in the sphere of duality for the upliftment of humanity, his work becomes subject to the laws of time, space, and causality. From the point of view of external work, at times he appears to be limited, though in reality he is at all times experiencing the oneness and infinity of the beyond state. Though he himself is beyond time, when he works for those who are in duality, time counts. Special work for circle. The Master's universal work for humanity, in general, goes on without break through the higher planes. When he works for the members of his circle, his action follows a timing he himself fixes with utmost care, for it has to be a precise and definite intervention in the mechanical working out of their sanskaras. He works for the circle at fixed times. Therefore, those who, in following the instructions received from the Master, abide by the timing given by him, have the benefit of his special work. From the standpoint of the special tasks the Master sets for himself, time becomes an extremely important factor. The special work that the Master undertakes in relation to the members of his circle not only touches and affects these members themselves, but also those who are closely connected with the members of his circle. I didn't understand this
Uh,
very well.
yeah,
Anybody can help?
yes, yes. I also has a lot of questions here. Any
Okay, yeah, especially
explanation
the
on
time,
this? Yes, sir.
especially the time aspect. Yeah.
And who are the circle he is referring to here? Is it his close followers who are around him, or he refers to the spiritual hierarchy circle? I am confused there.
Jai Baba, the circle is basically, we know um, the avatar and the perfect masters have their own circle. We know the avatar has 122. There are 10 circles.
Yes,
In fact, this you will come across in the next chapter, which is called the circles of the avatar. When you look at this portion we are reading, the first chapter we read was the avatar. Then it came to man God or perfect master Sadguru part 1, part 2, part 3. Then it started with the circle, which is what we are reading. And then we are reading the circles of the avatar. We will be reading the circles of the avatar. So, in a simplified manner, the perfect master has 12 plus 2 inner circle, whereas the avatar has 122, which you will read later, where there are 10 circles, and the 12 plus 2 are the inner circle, the mandali plus the two women, and then it is distributed between 8 and 4, 8 men, 4 women, or 4 women, 8 men. So the circle is basically uh, the difference between the circle of the perfect master and the avatar is that the circle of the perfect master are drop souls who have been connected with the perfect master in many lifetimes. Whereas the circle of the avatar is basically decided by the divine. If you remember, there was the 12 apostles that Baba talks about, I think, in the chapter on Avatar. So the function of the apostles, the 12 people in the inner circle, the functions remain the same in each time the avatar descends. But the drop souls of that circle are different in each avataric time period, because those drop souls will attain self-realization in the next one or two reincarnation, uh, in their, in that particular cycle of time itself. So that is the difference. The circle is 12 plus 2, 14 for the perfect master, whereas it is 122, but within that 122 is again the 12 plus 2 for the avatar. And the difference is the perfect master brings with him those same drop souls who have been with him in many lifetimes, whereas the avatar, it is different. Jai Baba.
Whereas the perfect master is different, right?
The perfect master comes with the same drop souls who have been with him when he was going through his realization process.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
The functions, no. The functions are the same with the avatar. The functions
But it's
of the
different
12 plus
souls.
2, the drop souls are different in each avataric cycle. Yes.
So Peter's role is done by another soul.
Yeah, the managing directors are the same. The functions of the managing directors are the same, except each time the chairman comes again and again, he comes with a different person. He comes with a different drop soul who will be doing the same function as the prior one.
Okay. But in the case of a perfect master?
The perfect master is basically that all those 12 plus 2 who are with him when he becomes God realized and he guides them, they are people who have been with him in prior lifetimes.
Correct. So they don't come back in this. I mean, the perfect master doesn't come back. So it's pretty much,
The perfect master
it's just the
won't come back.
relationship. Yeah, it's just the
Yes,
relationship that is carried from multiple lifetimes.
Exactly. And he guides them, and he basically then, then those people are prepared for their own self-realization process. Just like Baba has said that the Mandali will be coming in one or two incarnations and they will become self-realized, God realized.
Should we say these are some of the people who are in that 7,000 hierarchy? So they are those who are, say, moving up the ladder in the spiritual hierarchy.
Yes, the possibility is there that
Yes.
the 122 might be part of the 7,000 spiritual hierarchy as well as the 12 plus 2 of the perfect master. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
This is on page 269, where it says every Sadguru has an intimate circle of 12 disciples who at the point of realization are made equal to the Sadguru himself, though they may differ from him in function and authority. In avataric periods, the avatar has a circle of 10 concentric circles with a total of 122 disciples, all of whom experience realization and work for the liberation of others. The work of the avatar and his disciples is not only for contemporary humanity, but for posterity as well. The unfoldment of life and consciousness for the whole avataric cycle, which had been mapped out in the creative world before the avatar took form, is endorsed and fixed in the formative and material worlds during the avatar's life on earth. So the business plan is already formulated before the avatar descends with the 122 and then gets implemented after he is born, and all those 122 are also born. Yeah, Baba.
The wedding cake is the visualization, right? The 10 circles. Just reminding everybody. Rano Gailey. The 10 concentric circles with the men and women in it on it. I hope everybody remembers that. We even saw a video together of Rano explaining that.
Fair point, Karthik. But my one question is that out of these 122 members, some of them might be still alive, living, or but there's no way we can find out, right?
Well, they keep
Uh,
changing because if you look at that needle which was erected in Mehrabad with all those, I think there were 122 names. Remember the one near the railway track? There is that symbolic thing where Baba had instructed to put the names of all the people he was connected with. So you could approximately consider them as the 122.
The tower,
This
yes.
was the tower, yes. Yeah.
Jai Baba.
I didn't know the tower was the circle. Is that confirmed? All the 122 names? Because I think the way the introduction for the tower talks about it's his closest ones that he's handpicked, whatever, right? And something like that. But is it the circle for sure? Kama?
I said it's an approximation.
Oh, okay. Possible, yes. Giant overlap between real 122 and that 122. Correct, possible. But that's intriguing that the number is matching in both. Okay.
Because even Mehra's uncle, who was against Baba,
Yes.
his name is prominent there. In fact, Baba put his name. So we don't know why some names are there based on their personalities, but the way of the avatar's work is different because uncle had to play the role, you know. So I think that whether they are the 122 or not, I guess we all know that they were connected to Baba. So definitely one can. First of all, I'm not sure about whether there are 122 names or plus or minus. But if it is 122, then we can definitely imply that that could be the 122. But otherwise, it's still something that Baba instructed the Mandali to do, and it happened a couple of years ago. Okay, Baba.
Yep.
This brings to the point that opposition is needed, and
Yes,
that
yes,
makes
exactly.
the positive aspect come out so very well. Otherwise, it is taken for granted.
Correct. In fact, right in the last chapter, we had saw a reference to that, I think, if I'm not wrong, where the man god and the god man use opposition as a force as well in their work.
The other point I want to make is that this particular paragraph, the subtitle Special Work for Circle, it says when he works for the members of his circle, his action follows a timing he himself fixes with utmost care. For it has to be precise and definite intervention in the mechanical working out of their sanskaras. He works for the circle at fixed times. Therefore, those who, in following the instructions received from the master, abide, the word abide, by the timing given by him, have the benefit of his special work. So, when you read the Baba literature, one realizes that Baba was using all of these people. He has said this many times that in his inner work, whatever instructions and work he is giving, whether it's important or menial or whatever, they have a lot of spiritual significance. And the most important point is the time aspect. There are two things. One is obedience to the instructions of the master. That is very, very important. 100% don't ask why or what, like the Hafiz sayings. And number two is able to do it on time and also obey the timing. And it is very interesting to see Baba was so particular about time, and that really helped me to actually not take, if you make an appointment, not to take it for granted, because we know there is an Italian time, there is a New York time, there's a Japanese time, and so on. Each culture, looks at time in different way. In India, you say come to the wedding at 8, they all come at 10:30, 11. The North Indian situation, whatever. But this is a very important aspect, because um, the other thing is that from the point of view of external work, at times he appears to be limited, though in reality he's at all times experiencing the oneness and infinity of the beyond state, though he himself is beyond time. When he works for those who are in duality, time counts. So this I've read in a couple of other places where Baba insists that we should be on time, and especially when you're working with Baba, he wanted the aspirants, the devotees, should follow those timings very rigorously. And I think it's also, even for us, I think, who are now under the umbrella of Baba, he is directly or indirectly using us to do his work. That is one of my insights. Jai Baba.
Kama, thank you. I just wanted to add, so we can take the lines from a poem. Ours not to question why, ours but to do and die. Whenever there is a uh, something to be done which Baba wants. Jai Baba.
I had that intriguing say question all the time. Why Baba used to have that seclusion and the timing and instructing the mandlis so very curtly and all that regarding this. So this highlights those aspects very clearly. So it is a revelation reading this paragraph and then linking with all that what we read about the Mandli and Baba's so acutely aware say relationship. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. The next subtitle is Avatar and His Circles. Like the perfect masters, the avatar also has his circle of 10 concentric circles. When the avatar takes an incarnation, he has before him a clear cut mission that proceeds according to a plan. And this plan is always carefully adjusted to the flow of time. The process of incarnation of the avatar is unique. Before taking on a physical body and descending into the world of duality, he gives to himself and members of his circles special type of sanskaras, which are known as Vigyani sanskaras. The circles of the avatar always consist of a total of 122 members, and all of them have to take an incarnation when the avatar takes an incarnation. The taking on of Vidyani Sanskaras before incarnating in the physical body is like the drawing of a veil upon himself and his circles. After taking an incarnation, the avatar remains under this veil of Vigyani Sanskaras until the time that has been fixed by himself. When the appointed time comes, he experiences his own original divinity and begins to work through the Vigyani Sanskaras, which now have been transmuted into the Yoga Yoga Sanskaras of the universal mind. So, okay, I just have one doubt here. I'll just read one softly to myself. Okay, I have a question here. So if you read this line, circles of the avatar always consist of a total of 122 members. I'm fine till there. And all of them have to take an incarnation when the avatar takes an incarnation. So this might be I mean, this is where I was till Kama clarified that it could be different people, the functions are the same, but I don't know. This is kind of a little misleading here. The rest is fine.
Karthik, if I
No,
may,
Yeah.
the, sorry,
see,
go ahead.
I think you see the people might be different, but the people who come in there, it's like a functional hierarchy. So with the similar sanskaras will be the 122 people, or let's say
Okay.
that is clarified somewhere, I think. But anyway, so it's basically
Yeah, yeah. Kama were also coming in. Maybe there is some
yeah. Okay.
specific reference somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
No, what? No, no. What I want to clarify one thing is that it's not all the 122. When you read the next chapter on the circles of the avatar, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It says in every advent of the avatar on earth, the 12 men of the inner circle and its appendage of 2 women gather around the personality of the avatar as the self same 14 types of individualities. These 14 different individualities in the shape of different personalities always occupy their respective offices whenever the avatar manifests on earth. So when we come to that, we will have much more clarity. I don't think all 122 will have the same functions. Definitely the 14 plus 2, yes. Jai Baba.
Okay.
I have a question. Say, as we read, it is seems to be implying that all these 122 will act according to the Vigyani Samskara. Am I correct or wrong in interpreting like this?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So they are acting not on the normal human attitude as such, but with the Vigyani Samskara. Okay. So it is a gameplay from the whole set, including the avatar.
Absolutely. It is the whole game has been designed, yes, before the descent, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Nature of Vigyani Sanskaras. For all intents and purposes, Vigyani Sanskaras are like the ordinary Sanskaras of duality, though they are essentially different in nature. Vigyani Sanskaras prompt activities and invite experiences that are similar to activities and experiences caused by ordinary Sanskaras. But while the activities and experiences caused by ordinary Sanskaras have a general tendency to strengthen the grip of illusory duality, the activities and experiences caused by Vigyani Sanskaras systematically work toward the loosening the grip of duality. The logic of the working out of Vigyani Sanskaras necessarily invites the realization of the oneness of existence. They are therefore known as a threshold of unity. The members of the circles remain under the veil of Vigyani Sanskaras until they attain realization of God at the time fixed by the avatar. After they attain realization through the avatar, the Vigyani Sanskaras they brought with them do not constitute a veil, but for some become Yoga Sanskaras, serving only as an instrument for the fulfillment of the divine plan on earth. Okay. I think the question that I was having will be addressed with the next subtitle, Differences between Vigyani and Yoga Sanskaras. There are important differences between Vigyani and Yoga Sanskaras. Though Vigyani Sanskaras ultimately work toward the realization of unity, they cause the experience of being limited until realization. Yoga Sanskaras come after realization and do not in any way interfere with the experience of infinity, which is above duality, although they serve as instruments for enabling and determining responses and activities in the dual world. The working out of Vigyani Sanskaras contributes toward one's own realization, while the working out of Yoga Sanskaras contributes toward the process of realization in others who are still in bondage. Okay.
No, this paragraph needs some explanation. I think you can read it once again.
Okay, I'll read it once again. There are important differences between Vigyani and Yoga Sanskaras. Though Vigyani Sanskaras ultimately work toward the realization of unity, they cause the experience of being limited until realization. Yoga Sanskaras come after realizations and do not in any way interfere with the experience of infinity, which is above duality, although they serve as instruments for enabling and determining responses and activities in the dual void. The working out of Vigyani Sanskaras contributes toward one's own realization, while the working out of Yoga Sanskaras contribute toward the process of realization in others who are still in bondage.
Okay. So that means those 122 who are with the avatar go through the process and that get realization afterwards. Whereas
And when they do, they
ah,
start working on with Yoga Sanskaras.
yes. Okay.
And
Yes.
the object of Vigyani Sanskaras is that realization, whereas Yoga Sanskaras is for general good, like we learned under the man god,
That is
I mean,
man
in
God.
earlier
Yes.
paragraphs. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Avatar and masters not circumscribed by circles. The circles of the avatar, as well as the perfect masters, constitute the most important particular feature in relation to which and through which the avatar and the masters adjust their spiritual duty toward humanity. This particular feature has come into existence as a result of the close links and connections of several lifetimes. The avatar and all perfect masters always have such circles of very close disciples, but the circles do not in any way create a limitation on their inner consciousness. In their God state, the avatar and the masters find themselves in the center of the universe as well as in the center of everything, and there are no circles to circumscribe their being. In the infinity of non duality, there are no preferences. The circles exist only in relation to the duty and the work that the avatar and the perfect masters have undertaken in the phenomenal void. But from the point of view of this spiritual work in the phenomenal world, the circles are as much a reality as the Himalayas. Okay. A
This
quick
paragraph
summary.
This paragraph tries to answer a question that may come up in some minds, stating that either the perfect master or the avatar is always siding with his circle, uh, and there is a difference of his treatment with the circle and the others in the whole creation. So it clearly answers that. It is only for the functional aspect and the say emancipation of the whole of the universe. These people in the circle work for it, and that's why they are near the avatar. Otherwise, the grace of avatar is same to everyone.
Unbiased.
Unbiased. Jai
Yeah,
Baba.
good point. Thank you. Good distinction brought out. Okay, so any questions or comments, or we continue to circles of the avatar? Whoa, what's this? Window. Okay, so let's continue with the circles of the avatar. Absolute oneness prevails in reality. Space and time are but illusory. They are merely the effect of the reflection of God's infinitude. When the man, when man realizes reality, the reflection that has estranged him from reality vanishes, and he experiences the absoluteness of the absolute oneness of God. And when such a one continues to live his life in illusion, he leads the life of a man God or perfect master on earth. With his abiding experience of the absolute reality, he serves as the pivot around which rotates the entire cosmic universe. Every point in the cosmos is equidistant from the perfect master who abides in illusion as the nucleus of the cosmos. Although the perfect master remains in illusion as the center of the cosmic periphery and radiates his influence uniformly over the entire universe, in his lifetime, he gathers around him 12 men who directly have their center of interest in his individuality. These men, through their constant and close association with him in the past, right from the earliest evolutionary stages of consciousness, reap the greatest benefit now when their past close associate has become a perfect master. Such a group of 12 men is called the circle of a perfect master. However, besides this group of 12 men, there is an appendage of two women to complete the circle of a perfect master in all its aspects. These two women also owe their position in regard to the circle to their past connection with the perfect master. So, this succinctly describes what Kama said in to the earlier question. I hope it is clear. Okay, so let me continue. One or more of these 14 close ones associated with the perfect master realize the God state during or after the lifetime of the perfect master, and in some instances, after one or a few more reincarnations. However, the perfect master fulfills his obligations by establishing his circle during his lifetime, and the greatest good he bestows is God realization with all its perfection to at least one from his circle.
Jai Baba, I think this last paragraph you read, where it says one or more of these 14 close ones associated with the perfect master realize the God state during or after the lifetime of the perfect master. And then it says, and the greatest good the perfect master bestows is God realization with all its perfection to at least one from his circle. I think the case study example is Upasani Maharaj, who was under Shirdi Sai Baba. So he is a perfect case study example of a disciple who became God realized during the life of Shirdi Sai Baba, or after Shirdi Sai Baba dropped his body. So I just thought that come with that point, Jai Baba.
Oh, that's indeed a unique case. He not only became God realized, he also got double promotion, became a perfect master, and was in a great double whammy involved in the descent of the avatar. Man, what a journey. Okay, so with that, the circles, the wedding cake is here. 12 men and 2 women, 8 men and 4 women, 4 women and 8 men, 8 men and 4 women, 4 men and 8 women, and so on till you go to the last one, which is 10 men and 2 women. Right. I'll continue. In the case of the avatar, it is different. He has 10 circles in all, as shown.
In between,
Mhm.
Karthik, in
Yeah,
between, there is a circle with 6 men and 6 women.
6 women, yes.
Yes, yes. So there are different combinations. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. In fact, the number of women is higher in one of them as well, right? So 4 men and 8 women in one of them.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
In fact, 2 of them, 2 circles. So it's complicated.
Yes. And also point to tell Cherry.
That's a good one. Yes. In the case of the avatar, it is different. He has 10 circles in all, as shown in the accompanying diagram. The first or inner circle of the avatar consists of 12 men with an appendage of 2 women, and each of the following 9 outer circles consists of 12 persons, both men and women. In all, there are 120 persons in the 6 circles of the avatar, plus the 2 women of the inner circle who are but appendages to that particular circle. 122 in all. One or more of the 108 members of the 9 outer circles realize the God state during or after the lifespan of the avatar, and some in the next incarnation or after a few more incarnations. As in the case of the perfect master circle, the inner circle of the avatar consists of only 12 men with an appendage of 2 women. The difference between the circle of the perfect master and the inner circle of the avatar is that the perfect master establishes his circle from among those who were closely connected with him right from the earliest evolutionary stages of their consciousness. But the avatar, in his recurrent advent, does not pass through the process of evolution, reincarnation, and involution. Therefore, he does not have the same links of association to establish anew his inner circle with every advent. In short, whereas the perfect master establishes his circle, the avatar is directly allied with his inner circle, which is always the same in all his advents. With his descent on earth, the avatar, as it were, brings along with him the association of his inner circle. The connection of the inner circle
Uh,
in relation, yeah.
so this last sentence means to, so we can always try to link the circles of different avatars or the close associates of the avatars, and the reference to Francis also becomes highlighted here, I think.
Yeah, I want to hold my reaction till we go to the next 2
Okay, okay,
paragraphs.
okay.
Let's see what is unveiled here. The connection of the inner circle in relation to the avatar may be compared to that of a person who associates himself with 14 parts of his own body: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, 2 hands, 2 legs, the genitals, the anus, and the trunk of the body itself. As soon as an individual is born, he directly makes use of these 14 parts of his body. And these parts, in turn, respond to his dictates individually or collectively. Similarly, with the advent of the avatar on earth, his inner circle of the same 12 individualities and the appendage of the same two individualities directly begin to function individually and collectively according to the dictates of the avatar himself. With every advent of the avatar on earth, the 12 men of the inner circle and its appendage of two women gather around the personality of the avatar as the self, as the self same 14 types of individualities. These 14 different individualities in the shape of different personalities always occupy their respective offices whenever the avatar manifests on earth. And during and after the lifespan of the avatar, they individually and collectively function in the same way as their predecessors who had held and functioned in the same offices of the inner circle during the past advents of the avatar. Therefore, it would not be wrong to say that with the Christ's coming again, come Peter, Judas, and all his apostles. But this can never mean that the very same Peter or the self same Judas reincarnates again and again. These can never reincarnate, as all of the individual personalities of the avatar's inner circle attain God realization in every avataric period, either during or soon after their lifespan of the avatar. Once God realization is attained, reincarnation is impossible. The only exception to this rule is the avatar himself, who comes again and again to redeem humanity. It is not the same individualized personalities of the inner circle that reincarnate. It is the individualities of their particular offices that come with every advent of the avatar. It is because in all the avatars' advents, each of the 12 men and two men of the inner circle hold exactly the same office and function in exactly the same manner that it is said the avatar always brings with him the same circle. As soon as the veil with which the avatar descends on earth is rent by the then living perfect master or masters, and the avatar realizes his avatarhood, the 12 men and two women automatically group around the personality of the avatar to occupy their respective positions in the inner circle and to function as usual according to the dictates of the avatar of the age. The position of the avatar in regard to the inner circle and its function may be compared to a person asleep. As soon as he is made to wake up through some external agency, the individual spontaneously finds that all the 14 parts of his body, as mentioned before, are already there in their individual roles, ready to function at his slightest wish. Similarly, as soon as the avatar is made to realize his avatarhood through one or two or more of the five perfect masters of the time, he also realizes that the 14 personalities in their characteristic roles of the inner circle are ready at hand to discharge their duties. To explain in detail why only these 14 particular personalities hold such positions in every advent of the avatar would take a volume of explanation. Who can become the 14 members, and how do they become attached to the inner circle of the avatar? These questions would require yet more volumes of explanation. Suffice it to say that each of these 14 particular personalities when occupying the office and function of the inner circle, not only must resemble the characteristic individuality of his or her predecessor in the previous advents of the avatar, but must be exactly similar in all respects. For example, one of the offices of the inner circle of Jesus Christ was held by Peter. At the second advent of the Christ, this particular office must be held by another Peter, who may be named A, but who has the same qualities of mind and heart and other characteristics as the Peter. The same applies to the offices held by Judas, John, James, and so forth, of the inner circle in the time of Jesus Christ. Crystal clear. All 14 members of the avatar's inner circle realize God by the grace of the avatar during the same avataric period, which is of 100 years duration after the manifestation of the avatar on earth. Regarding the
This
outer
particular
circle, yeah,
this particular sentence is bit of a confusion. Last sentence you read.
all 14 members of the avatar's inner circle realize God by the grace of the avatar during the
That is
same
okay.
avataric period, which is of 100 years duration after the manifestation of the avatar on earth. That is the
There
big
is one
confusion.
more. There is one more which is currently held. That is after he left his body, 100 years he is available to us. So how do we put these two things together?
That's the big confusion. So, is
Yeah.
it from the day he declared avatarhood? Is it when the descent or the advent started, or is it when he dropped the body? Those are the three possible points. I don't think there is conclusive evidence in his statements. Correct? Is there
No,
anybody else who can?
no, this particular center refers only to the 14 members.
Correct. But then he
But
uses the word manifestation. So is it beginning of Advent, end of Advent?
beginning of Advent. It means that I don't know. That's why
Okay.
I brought this up. Kama
And
used to
of course,
always say 2000, say 69 to 69, 2001 and 2002,
Yeah,
22.
Jay Baba.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that there is definitely a confusion here because of the definition of the avataric period, which is of 100 years duration after the manifestation of the avatar on earth. So one can look at 1969 when Baba dropped his body, or you can look at 1954 when he declared himself as the avatar publicly, or you can go back to 1920 to 122 when he became God realized. So, but I
Or to
think,
his birth also.
yeah, but I think that there are two aspects. Remember, I think the best reference would be the formless and the form. Embodied form, state 2C, 1894 to 1969, 74 years old. Then 1969 to 2069, we can take the Nirguna Nirakar, eternal avataric infinite consciousness, which is substate 2B, the formless aspect. As Baba said, I'm equally available now in my formless, much more than in the physical form. So it's fair enough to say that if we take the 1969 onwards, which is the formless aspect, then we can take this 100 years there, just to make it simpler and easier for us because you have much more time to work on ourselves, Jai Baba.
So you mean to say after 6922, so or 6921, he will be in the beyond state, not available to us.
Not like that. He is
Okay.
in the beyond state right now. He is 100% available. See, it's again second law of thermodynamics, entropy. So the intensity gets reduced. So right
Okay.
now the intensity is 100%. Even though Baba is not in physical form, he is equally available to all of us. Whoever is available to him, his grace is 100% as much as he was in physical form. Now, why
Yes.
we can't ask? Because this is how the law of nature is, the way the 122 has been designed. So it's all a divine game. So one should use this opportunity to focus completely on him and hopefully, get liberated in this avataric period itself. This is the greatest opportunity we have, actually speaking. Yeah, Babu.
Yes. Thank you.
Motivation for all. Let's do it. MOM. Okay, the last para. Regarding the outer circles of the avatar, none of the 108 persons in the nine circles hold any office similar to that held by those of the inner circle. All of these 108 persons attain God realization by the grace of the avatar, but not necessarily during the avataric period. These 108 persons of the outer circles have their respective places in the nine circles in accordance with their past connections with the members of the circle ahead of them. For example, the members of the second circle of 12 persons next to the inner circle are grouped around the avatar in accordance with their past connections with the members of the inner circle. Similarly, the 12 persons of the third circle next to the second circle are grouped around the avatar in accordance with their past connections with the members of the second circle, and so on with all the remaining seven circles. Going back to the memorial tower, the names are also in circles. Any idea if they are matching the number of the 10 circles, for example, and so on? I don't recollect, but I don't think there were 10 circles.
No,
I'm not sure.
no, they are not 10 circles. There were names that were just etched around that monument.
Not in
But
any order or okay.
yeah. Because you have to remember, that aspect that you read, the connection of the inner circle in relation
The
to the
next one.
avatar may be compared to that of a person who associates himself with 14 parts of his own body. So, similarly, with the advent of the avatar on earth, his inner circle is of the same 12 individualities in the appendage. So, when Baba came to Pune after God realization, that circle automatically formed around him. And then he went with that circle to Bombay, the Manzili Imam, where he spent 9 months.
Yeah.
And he also wrote the biography of Upasani Maharaj in Marathi and Gujarati, I believe, and or Urdu and Gujarati. So, so another thing I noticed was some of these inner circle members, the earlier inner circle, they dropped their bodies. You know, for example, Chanji, who was Baba's secretary, he dropped his body in Kashmir in 1941 or 42. He wanted to die there, and it happened to him. And of course, with Dr. Neelu also, he wanted to die in the physical presence of Baba, which also happened to him. So the circle kept changing depending on the time period also. For example, Bau Kalchuri was the last major member, if you can look. He came only in 1952 after the new life. So he became very close to Baba. So they kind of exchange positions. It's very difficult to go through the whole rigmarole of it, but definitely, the 122 were closely connected. Baba himself had given the names. I don't know whether he referred to them as the 122 and whether the number 122 names are etched on the monument. That needs to be checked. Jai Baba.
Shri Baba, was Chandji in the Mandali?
Absolutely. I think Chanji was the one who was very close. He was the guy who kept all the diaries. He was his personal assistant. He
Personal
kept all this,
secretary, yes.
yes, everything, his
His
diaries,
correspondence, yeah.
everything. And he kept his own diary of his daily activities. Chanji played a very, very important role. He was a guy who was going to commit suicide in Chowpatty. He was waiting
Yes.
and it's a very interesting story.
Yes, yes.
Right. I just read last
I,
week that my grandfather used to be visiting his hospital, taking care of him in his last days. I didn't know that,
Oh,
but
in
I just
Kashmir.
read it somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, in Kashmir.
Oh,
mhm.
oh
That's where
wow,
he
that's
passed away.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
He and Dr. Daulat Singh used to visit
Ah,
him
okay.
frequently,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
appointed by Baba to take care of him or whatever. They wouldn't go and meet
Amazing.
Baba, but they would go and see him.
Wow, that's
Seems
fantastic because Daulat Singh was played such an important role, and Chanji also. So I think, did your grandfather keep any of his own personal diaries? He noted his activities when during the Baba period.
we've lost most of it, unfortunately.
Oh, oh, oh,
I
oh.
can't figure out much except through all these readings here and there. We're trying to recollect all material now, but I think over a period of time we lost a fair bit.
Oh,
Perhaps he did,
oh.
but we don't
He
have it.
must have. He must have. He must have. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Wow.
There's some notes here and there my brother has. We're trying to put it together. We'll see where we reach.
Yeah. Please do. I think if you can, that would be a treasure hunt by itself.
Yeah, we'll try. Let you know if there is something. Yeah. Thank you, Jai Baba.
I
Thank
think
you, Jai Baba.
Change's diaries
Yes.
are basis for some of the newer publication which have come out regarding Baba's lectures in the early period, like the tiffin lectures or uh, this Premashram series, things like that. And Change's
I
diaries are
see.
still with the trust, I think, through which some of these people are doing the research and then bringing out the new publications. If I am not mistaken, it is Changes.
I see.
Great. So, where are we on time? Okay, we will not start another chapter, but I will stop recording and we can just hang out and